Breaking news story now. 60-day ceasefire in Gaza could be a step closer after Hamas handed over what it is describing as a positive response to a US brokered proposal. A statement from the regime to mediators say it is ready to immediately engage in negotiations on a mechanism for implementing the proposal. The proposed terms of the ceasefire include the release of 10 living Israeli hostages and the repatriation of 18 bodies in exchange for 1,000 Palestinian prisoners. The US claims Israel has already agreed to the conditions of the plan ahead of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's White House visit next week. Now, before coming to power in the United States, Donald Trump said he would stop the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. Overnight, we saw Russia's biggest aerial strike of the war so far. Joining me live is former US Ambassador to Kazakhstan, Georgia, and the US Soviet Commission, William Courtney. Welcome to the program. It doesn't show any sign of stopping anytime soon, does it, the war in Ukraine? It's been going for a number of years now.
It does not show signs of stopping. And in fact, this was reinforced by President Trump's phone call with President Putin, in which President Trump said that no progress was made, that he thought President Putin wanted to continue the war. There has been no sign of compromise from the Russian side. The demands are essentially that Ukraine submit itself to Russia and be taken over by Russia. This is not in the cards. The Ukrainians are fighting very hard. Europe is giving even more support to Ukraine, and while U.S. support seems to be slackening off a bit, the Ukrainians are in good position to defend their territory.
You've worked in this part of the world a lot. You know it intimately. What about the relationship between Trump and Putin?
It's not clear what kind of relationship, in part because the two appear to have had a number of private talks. There's not a lot of information about what takes place in some of those talks. And so there's been a lot of questioning in the United States about the nature of the relationship because, for example, President Trump has not increased any sanctions on Russia since he's come into office, and he is not proposing any new military assistance to Ukraine. So the combination of those two suggests that he may be waiting for a period of time to assess whether Russia will make some concessions, but by now it's pretty clear Russia is not.
Meantime, the US has halted some weapons shipments to Ukraine, and the argument there is that they need to keep their stocks up.
That is the sensible argument from the Pentagon, but there seem to be a number of suggestions that this is more of a political decision rather than a decision by the military. There are several reports that military folks say that they are not short of these munitions. And the fact that such a wide range of munitions, from very sophisticated Patriot anti-air, anti-missile interceptors down to 155 millimeter artillery ammunition. So it would be puzzling that somehow we would be short of the U.S. military on both of those kinds of things.
What do you make of the relationship between the US and Australia? Long-term allies, Donald Trump and Anthony Albanese are yet to meet. They were going to do it on the sidelines of the G7. Understandably, the US president had to go back with everything happening in Israel and Iran. But we've had our foreign minister in the US, the AUKUS deal around the corner.
So the foreign minister's visit seemed to go quite well. Secretary of State Rubio was pretty confident about the AUKUS deal. And certainly from a military perspective, it makes a lot more sense than purchasing conventional diesel-powered submarines, simply because of the very long distances in the Pacific Ocean. And so nuclear-powered submarines are required to be effective, to have submarines on station for a long period of time. In the U.S., our problem is that our submarine construction capacity has declined over time. We're supposed to be producing 2 attack submarines per year, but it's less than that. And so now the AUKUS arrangement with the UK, Australia, the United States really offers an opportunity for the U.S. to expand production, as well as for Australia and Great Britain to do more. So the strategic fundamentals of the AUKUS deal are really quite strong, and it does seem to have strong support in the Congress.
Finally, how successful do you think the strikes on Iran were in the sense of knocking out nuclear capability for some time? And look, some positive word, breaking news this morning of a possible ceasefire in Gaza.
But with regard to the strikes, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency and U.S. officials have said that the damage was severe. How severe is not yet known, but it's likely that with those bunker buster bombs going down the ventilator shafts in 2 places at Fordo, that the very large scale enrichment facility there was pretty significantly harmed. There is still a question, of course, of the 400 kilograms of 60% highly enriched uranium. That may well have been moved before the strikes because there was no secret that the U.S. strikes might take place. That would be enough, former Secretary of Defense William Perry said, former Secretary of Energy Ernest Moniz, a nuclear physicist, has said it would be enough for 5 to 10 atomic bombs. So there is a question, the extent to which that has been saved, and then a question about the extent to which Iran wants to resume a nuclear program, perhaps on a smaller scale than it has in the past. With regard to Gaza, if Hamas is accepted, that's a concession on Gaza's part. It was demanding a deal, to end the war, not just a ceasefire. But we'll have to see what sticks, because agreements in that part of the world sometimes get unraveled based on details or based on reactions of, for example, other Arab states.
Yeah, absolutely. Former US Ambassador William Courtney, thank you so much for coming on the program. I appreciate it.